from a secondary server in the storage area. The perpetrator had to know the exact transfer time and how to disable the cameras without activating the central alarm. They traced Marcus's movements. From peripheral camera footage, they discovered "We only have 48 hours before everything is erased," Catherine said quietly, but firmly. "Start with the power outage." Zara nodded, her fingers flying across the screen. "I've checked the system logs. The power failure wasn't random. It was manually triggered." The two met at 3 a.m. in a hidden room deep within Kensington Palace. No secretaries, no bodyguards, only 2 laptops and stacks of secretly printed files. Catherine, despite occasional bouts of fatigue, sat upright with sharp eyes. After identifying Marcus Vale as the prime suspect, Zara and Catherine decided not to alert the police. A public scandal at this time could shake the monarchy's reputation to its core. They chose a more dangerous path, investigating in secret. Catherine was the true inheritor of the spirit and values the late Queen had left behind. Not Camilla. Catherine, seated not far away, maintained a composed face, but pearl set was not merely expensive jewelry. It was a spiritual symbol, the most intimate heirloom left by Queen Elizabeth II. By granting it to Catherine, Zara was publicly affirming that Catherine a few weeks ago, she will be the future queen. Zara's words landed like a slow-motion bomb. The entire room plunged into deathly silence. No one dared cough. No one dared move. Everyone understood the profound implication. She did not answer immediately. After a few seconds, Zara spoke clearly and unwaveringly. "I'm very sorry, Your Majesty. This pearl set is no longer under my authority to decide. I officially transferred usage rights to Cold Blade. I have granted usage rights to Catherine." The image of Catherine wearing the sparkling pearls under camera, flashes with headlines praising the spiritual heir to the Queen, appeared vividly in Camilla's mind. She gripped at the glass so tightly, her nails dug into her palm, her hands shaking as she poured a large glass of expensive whiskey and drank it in one gulp, coughing harshly. The royal pearl set. The legendary pearls had only been something she wanted to borrow for the upcoming diplomatic event. Recently, the media and public had suddenly come to see the jewels as the true symbol of the monarchy, an invisible thread connecting to Queen Elizabeth II's resilient and graceful spirit. Camilla had dreamed of wearing them before the cameras so people would recognize her position. But Zara's words cut like a no longer herself. She walked down the long hallway with heavy steps, her shoes clicking on the stone floor like a heart in chaos. Only when the door to her private room closed behind her did she let her emotions pour out. She collapsed onto the leather sofa. Next morning, an emergency closed-door meeting was convened at Buckingham Palace. The atmosphere in the room was heavy. King Charles III sat at the head of the table, his face weary and filled with worry, mixed with regret. She had gone too far. From a simple intention to protect her position, she had touched crime. And now, the evidence was gradually surfacing, clearer than ever, hard to remove completely. Eleanor entered, her face also pale. "Ma'am, Marcus was detained at the airport. He is confessing." Camilla jerked her head up, eyes red. Fear now turned into rage. Outside, public opinion was still being steered, but inside the royal family, the real storm was approaching. Camilla knew she had very little time left to salvage the situation. But deep in her heart, she understood some mistakes could never be erased. "I only wanted to protect my position. I didn't tell him to steal it. It was only to create an accident. I never expected him to be so greedy." Point in one direction, "You ordered the pearl set to disappear, to prevent me from using it." The room fell silent. Charles looked at Camilla, his eyes full of disappointment. "Camilla, is this true?" Camilla tried to deny it, her voice shrill with panic. Zara cut in, even if it was just an accident. You violated the late Queen's will. You used royal funds to hire someone to sabotage the heritage. Catherine added her voice low but powerful. Marcus has given a full confession. He was arrested at the airport and cooperated. We even have recordings. Camilla slumped into her chair, her face contorted with fear and regret. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but no one was moved. She realized it was over. All the years she had fought to assert her place had crumbled because of one mistaken decision born from jealousy. Charles sighed accident, so the pearls couldn't appear in public. That was the order from above. But I ruined everything. Zara squeezed Catherine's shoulder. We have his confession. Know you were hired. Speak up and you'll get leniency. Marcus bit his lip until it bled. After nearly 40 minutes of silence, he broke. I was only hired to create an accident, to make the pearls look damaged during transfer. Now we have evidence. Catherine nodded, her eyes flashing with a mix of anger and relief. But Camilla is surely erasing traces. We must act fast, not to steal them, but when I touched them, I got greedy. I took everything. They paid me £50,000 through Camilla's assistant. He lifted his head, eyes red. I only wanted to create an act. But who was truly behind it all? And what would the royal family have to sacrifice if that secret were ever exposed? Yesterday, the entire British royal family officially announced a future of the British monarchy. But just a few days later, the pearl set vanished from the palace vault during a mysterious power outage. No signs of forced entry, no external suspects. The deeper Zara investigated, the more she uncovered a horrifying conspiracy. It stemmed from a dark conspiracy, a theft that occurred exactly 1 month earlier and reached its climax in a fateful meeting preparing for the 100th anniversary of the late Queen Elizabeth II's birth. Historic shift, Queen Camilla would no longer hold central influence, while Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was recognized as the new public symbol. The story behind that announcement was far less elegant than the formal press release suggested. Voice rang out clearly, without a tremor. These are the remaining pieces of evidence: emails between Eleanor Hayes and Markle, transfer receipts, call logs from your private number. All of the green velvet box on the table, right in front of Camilla. When she opened the lid, the royal pearl set sparkled under the chandelier light, intact and radiant. Camilla turned deathly pale. Her key royal family members were present, but no one dared speak first. Camilla entered last, trying to maintain a calm appearance, but her hand gripping her handbag trembled. Zara Tindall was the first to speak. She walked to the center of the room and placed a deep grin, her eyes wide with horror. "What is this?" Her voice cracked. Zara looked straight into her eyes, her voice cold but resolute. "The pearl set has been recovered from Marcus Vale. He has confessed everything." Catherine stood up and placed a thick file on the table, her to balance tradition with deep internal fractures. Beside him sat Camilla the Queen, with her usual haughty demeanor. She wore an elegant outfit, but anyone observant could see her hand gripping the edge of the tablecloth tightly. Camilla spoke first, her voice ringing with confidence. "To make the upcoming diplomatic event perfect, I propose using the Royal Pearl set, the legendary Royal Pearl collection. This would be the most fitting way to honor the late Queen's legacy. I am the Queen after all, and it would suit me perfectly." The room fell silent as everyone waited. All eyes turned to Zara Tindall, Princess Anne's daughter, who held the jewels according to Queen Elizabeth's will. Zara sat upright, her expression calm, but her gaze as steely as iron. In early April 2026, Buckingham Palace was steeped in a solemn yet stifling air. Crystal chandeliers lit the private meeting room, where royal family members and advisors sat around a long oak table. King Charles III presided at the head, his face showing the fatigue of a man trying. At 11:45 p.m., from Heathrow to Madrid paid in cash. He planned to flee that very evening. "We cannot let him board that plane," Catherine said, her voice full of resolve. She urgently contacted a high-ranking customs officer whom her family trusted. Marcus pulled his suitcase, sweating profusely, despite the cold air conditioning. As he handed over his passport, two customs officers appeared from either side and grabbed his arms. "Mr. Marcus Vale, please come with us." In the narrow interrogation room, harsh white lights shone directly on his face. Marcus sat, trembling, sweat streaming down his forehead. Zara and Catherine watched from behind the one-way mirror. An officer began, weaned completely. No details, just one request: detain the man named Marcus Vale. This is an internal royal family matter. That night at Heathrow Airport, if Catherine wore them, everything she had built would crumble. At exactly 11:45 p.m., Camilla called Eleanor Hayes, her closest assistant, who had followed her through decades of ups and downs. Eleanor arrived just 15 minutes later, her face serious under the dim light. "Sit down," and gradually erased. Fear and jealousy surged like a raging wave. Camilla stood up and paced the room like a caged animal. She could not allow those pearls to appear before the public. Camilla said directly, her voice low but sharp as a knife. "I do not want the royal pearl set to appear before the public in any form. Make it disappear completely." Eleanor frowned. "It cannot be," she muttered, her voice full of resentment. "I have sacrificed so many years, endured so much criticism, only to be completely overshadowed by a younger woman. My image will forever be placed beside Catherine's, compared." He refused, but calmly declared that she had already granted usage rights to Princess Catherine. In that moment, the room fell into silence, and Camilla understood all too well the true meaning behind those words. Princess Catherine was the real
Camilla passes, and that was because they were angry with Camilla.
Camilla had never imagined the day she would be challenged right in the heart of the royal family. Yet during a closed-door meeting preparing for a European tour, everything changed with one cold sentence.
If you look at the coronation footage, you'll see that everyone bows and curtsies to the king, and no one moves a limb, a muscle, when...
From Zara Tindall, Princess Anne's daughter. When Camilla requested to borrow the royal pearl set, the legendary pearl necklace once closely associated with Queen Elizabeth Zara, not only the stability and honor of the entire royal family. That night, Zara stood by the window, looking out at the palace's darkness as rain continued to fall. She wondered, where are the pearls now, and who is laughing triumphantly in the shadows? The real storm had only covered the truth, but we must be extremely careful. If Camilla is truly involved, this will be far more dangerous than we imagine. Zara nodded, but deep inside a profound unease swelled. She no longer saw Camilla as merely ambitious. The woman was becoming a real threat to... This was a way to erase the symbol the Queen had passed to her successor. Catherine placed a hand on Zara's shoulder, squeezing gently to lend strength. Her voice was calm, but determined. "We will find it, and we will only just begun." And this time, it could sweep away everything the monarchy had left. On the fateful night after the meeting, Camilla returned to Clarence's house and heavy footsteps. Zara clearly sensed that something dangerous was lurking. On that fateful night, light rain drizzled over London. Zara was at her private residence when her phone rang at 2:17 a.m. The voice of the palace vault manager trembled with panic. "Miss Zara, the royal pearl set. It's gone." A tense meeting at Buckingham Palace, the palace seemed to have returned to its usual rhythm. But for Zara Tindall, nothing had settled. She was haunted by Camilla's eyes as she left the meeting room, that clenched fist, Camilla's determination to maintain her position at any cost. The royal family appeared solid, but inside it was deeply fractured. And Catherine, though unwilling, had become the center of the approaching storm. A few days after the "cannot continue," she whispered to herself, her voice filled with resentment. That pearl set must disappear. From that very moment, a chain of conspiracies began. The theft 1 month later was no coincidence. It was the result of fear, ambition, but a spark of satisfaction mixed with worry flashed in her eyes. She knew this decision would stir up a storm. Charles sighed softly, his fingers tapping lightly on the table as he Her footsteps echoed on the wooden floor as she left the room. The door closed behind her with a dry click. In the hallway, Camilla paused for a moment, leaning her back against the cold wall. She took a deep breath, trying to suppress her shaking. A wave of jealousy and rage surged within her. With a voice that struggled to stay calm, but still trembled slightly, Camilla said, "I understand. In that case, there's no need to discuss it further." She stood up abruptly. The chair scraped loudly in the silent space. Considered how to handle the situation. Camilla turned deathly pale. The smile on her lips froze in an instant. She clenched her hands beneath the table so hard that her nails dug into her flesh, causing sharp pain. Catherine and Zara held dangerous leads. The files had been erased, but not all. Old emails, third-party transfer receipts, call logs. Traces remained that were for the flashes. The media immediately reported it. Public opinion temporarily calmed. Many praised the harmony between the two powerful women. But when she returned to her private room, Camilla collapsed. She slumped into a chair, covering her face. "Everything is about to fall apart," she muttered in despair. She knew misunderstandings. "I fully accept it. Our royal family will overcome every challenge together." Catherine stood tall, her smile polite, but her eyes cold. She replied calmly, "Thank you. We all want what is best for the monarchy." The two posed for photos, smiling with Catherine at Kensington Palace. Before dozens of cameras, Camilla approached and embraced Catherine with feigned warmth. She squeezed the princess's shoulder lightly, her sweet voice ringing into the microphones. "Catherine, we are family, despite small mistakes." "You've heard the news," Catherine said softly, her voice low but resolute. "What do you think, Zara? Was this really a coincidence?" Zara paced the room, fists clenched, her voice filled with worry and anger. "It wasn't a coincidence, sister. The power outage happened exactly during the edge of the table. I agree. We won't report this to the police just yet. If it goes public, the royal family will become a global laughingstock. Let's investigate ourselves and cameras." Catherine entered looking weary, but with eyes that still radiated strength and determination. Despite her recent health issues, she sat upright, ready to face whatever came. Transfer of the pearl set, without any prior warning. They wanted the royal pearl set to disappear completely. If the pearls are gone, people will forget that the Queen granted them to you. This is a direct strike at your position and the late Queen's legacy. Catherine nodded, gripping the vault has been breached. Zara bolted upright from bed, her heart pounding. She quickly threw on a coat and drove straight to the palace through the freezing rain. When she arrived, the storage area was flashing with the emerging familiar footprints. Zara stood in the middle of the vault, her face pale under the emergency lights. This wasn't an outside job, she whispered, her voice full of suspicion. No one could enter from outside without emergency lights of the internal security team. The entire area's power had suddenly gone out for exactly 7 minutes. The cameras had stopped completely. The vault door remained locked with no signs of forced entry, no leaving traces. This was an inside job. They knew the exact timing and every weakness in the system. The next morning, Zara did not hesitate. She immediately contacted Princess Catherine on a private line. The two met secretly in a small, quiet room at Kensington Palace, away from all eyes. Will enjoy. relief, telling herself she still had control. But when she tried to contact Marcus, the phone rang endlessly with no answer. Messages went unread. Camilla called a third time, her voice turning frantic. "Marcus, you must tell me you've safely left the country." Immediately, no response. She gripped action. Royal pearls set theft, the work of a professional Eastern European crime gang. Buckingham Palace confirms coordination with Scotland Yard. Not a single line mentioned an inside job. No suspicion pointed toward the royal family. Camilla forced a smile while reading the news. But the smile could not hide the anxiety in her eyes. She knew she needed a stronger move to distract public attention. That afternoon, she organized a public reconciliation meeting, the phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. Fear surged. "He's been caught," Camilla whispered, her face drained of color. "If he talks." She immediately moved to the next plan. Through Eleanor, Camilla contacted several friendly journalists. That very morning, major newspapers ran stories in the same direction. "First, I'll support you with everything I have." The two sat close together in front of the internal security monitor. Catherine, with her experience handling classified documents, quickly pulled up the list of recent personnel changes. One name stood out clearly and suspiciously: Marcus Vale, a closest personal assistant. Not only did she approve it, but she added special priority notes and fast-tracked it. This is no coincidence. Catherine narrowed her eyes, her voice heavy with concern. Marcus knows the vault system better than anyone. He knows how to cause a power failure without major traces and the exact camera rotation times. If Camilla is behind this, Zara shot to her feet, her fists clenched so tightly, her knuckles turned white. Her suspicion had now become certainty. This former high-level security officer, who had been transferred out 2 years earlier due to debt issues. Just 3 days before the theft, he had suddenly been reinstated with an urgent reappointment. Zara slid the file over her voice, turning icy. "Look at this." The person who approved it was Eleanor Hayes, Camilla's solve. Marcus Vale. He worked in palace security for many years and knows the vault system like the back of his hand. He's drowning in debt and willing to do anything for money. Contact him immediately. Through Eleanor, a secret call was arranged. Marcus Vale answered after 2 rings. His voice sounded greedy and slightly nervous. "I understand the task. I'll create a power failure during the transfer of the pearls from Zara to the vault. Make it look like a transport accident, the box-damaged pearls lost in the chaos. No one will suspect anything." Camilla breathed a sigh of relief, her voice slightly shaky, but hopeful. "Do it cleanly," slightly, but dared not object. She knew her mistress's temper too well when provoked. "Ma'am, we need a professional to execute this without leaving traces." Camilla nodded, her eyes flashing with dark resolve. "It disappear before tomorrow morning." Eleanor nodded without asking questions. She knew exactly what the order meant. Within an hour, the electronic files were skillfully edited. Marcus Vale became David Thompson, an ordinary technician with no connection to the incident. Camilla breathed a sigh of relief. Eleanor Hayes. "Erase everything," Camilla said curtly, her voice ice-cold but trembling slightly. "Change Marcus Vale's transfer records. Rename him as any other employee." That was only halfway done. While Zara and Catherine were in the Heathrow interrogation room, Camilla still